I forgot to mention one more thing. Okay, so to use the Pythagorean theorem is when we have two sides and we're looking for the third side. What if I have two angles and I want to find the third angle? What do I do? You learned this in grade 9 as well. What if I have two angles and I need to find the third angle? What can I do?
Add them and subtract the sum from 180.
Excellent. Thanks, Owen. So if you have two angles and you want to find a third, you just subtract them from 180. So whatever angles they are, x minus y. So 180 minus those two angles, or add them together and then subtract them from 180. Okay, example 1. Triangle. This means triangle. Okay. In triangle ABC, angle B is 90, angle A is 18.6, and B is 11. Oh, I forgot to mention something. I'll deal with the question. Okay, solve the triangle. When it says to solve the triangle, we want all three sides and all three angles. So it says solve the triangle. Sometimes we'll just say solve for one side or solve for one angle. But if it says solve the triangle, we want to find all the angles and all the sides. Okay, so this one's going to take a bit of work. All the angles and all the sides. Okay, so what I suggest you guys do every time you have a question is draw out the triangle. Okay, for me it works because I learn very well visually. Okay, so whenever I have a word problem or a question like this, I draw out the triangle. And I draw the same triangle every time. I just draw it this way. Okay, I'm going to have a 90-degree angle. Okay, so again, when you read this triangle means triangle ABC. ABC meaning the points around the triangle. So we'll have our sides ABC, but we're going to put the letters based on what the information is given. Okay, so it says angle. So this represents angle. So this is triangle. So this represents triangle, and this represents angle. Again, for some of you guys, it's all review, but some of you guys haven't seen it yet. Okay, so angle B is going to be 90 degrees. So I'm going to label this B, because that's where my 90 degree is in my diagram. Then it says angle A. So angle A is 18.6. 18.6. So it doesn't matter if you put the A here or here. It doesn't matter. Okay? I'm just going to put it, I'll put it here. So my angle here is 18.6 degrees. Okay, and lastly, B is 11.3. Okay, so in every triangle we have angles and sides. Whenever you see an angle, it will be in capital letters. Okay, so angles, capital letters. So you'll notice that angle B and angle A are in capital letters. When we are talking about sides, it's lowercase. Okay, angles, capitals, kind of rhymes. Angles, capitals, a little bit. And sides is lowercase. Capitals and angles, lowercase is sides. Okay, so we have A, B, that means our last one has to be C. Okay, so the last part says little b is 11.3. So this little case means it's our side. Now this is important. Which one of these three would represent side B? So where would side B be? Where would it be? If you guys remember this from last year. And at home you guys could say it as well. Alessia, hypotenuse, okay, good. It is the hypotenuse, and how did you know that? Across from B, good, so Damiano, so your side B is across from the angle B. So angle B here is here, then our side B is across from it. So our B is here, which is 11.30 centimeters. Yeah, okay, so across from the angles where the side is. Okay, so what side would this one be? What side would this one be on the left?
C.
C, good, so this would be C, and that means the last one, because it's across, so angle C across is C, and across from angle A is side A. Okay, so the three things we need to find are our side C, our side A, and our angle C. Okay, usually the easiest thing to find is the third angle. I'm not going to do that one yet, okay, because it might get confusing when I'm doing the SOHCAHTOA. Where's our glare today? Glare is around this area. Just kind of avoid that area. Okay, so we have to find, so let's use one of the trig ratios, and that represents the SOHCAHTOA or the SOHCAHTOA. All right, so let's see what we have. Oh, actually, let me rewind. Let's label our sides. Okay, we're gonna label them with the H, O, and the A. Okay, which side do we label first again? Which side do we label first?
H.
The H, good, thanks Damiano. So our H is across from the 90-degree angle, so this is our hypotenuse. Okay, what's the next one I'd say to label? Label the H, now label the
C would be opposite.
Okay, our O, okay, but here, we're looking at this angle here. Okay, this is the one we're going to be using. So our opposite is down here. So opposite side. And then our last one is our adjacent. Okay, so I labeled the H. Since I have the 18.6, then we're going to go opposite of that one. So that's our O. And then this is our A. Okay, so this is how I like to attack the questions. So I put G, N, F. Got no friends. Okay, that's how I remember. G and F. It's not true. Okay, so G and F. And what this represents is what is given, what do we need to find, and what's the formula we're going to use. Okay, so what's given, what do we need to find, and what's the formula. Okay, so what is given right now to us? What do we have? What is given in our question? What do we have?
The angle.
We have the angle, good. So we have the angle, which represents 18.6. We're never going to use the 90, by the way. We're never going to use the 90 in the formulas unless you're just finding the third angle, but we're not going to use the 90. Okay? So we have our angle, which is 18.6. Okay? What else do we have?
Our sidelines.
We have our side lines, okay? Which one?
Hypotenuse.
The hypotenuse. So we have our hypotenuse, which is 11.3. Okay, and now let's figure out which one we want to solve for. We can only pick one other side. What side do you guys want to solve for? Which one? You guys pick. Isabella, pick one. Huh? Side C? Okay. So we're going to solve for this one. Okay, so our side C is the adjacent side. So what we need to find is our adjacent side. So this is our hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is 11.3, and we want to find our adjacent side. Okay, so we don't know what that is. So this is how I tell people to pick the formula. Look, our H and our A. So okay, so what is given? We have our angle on one side. What do we need to find? Well, we need to find our adjacent side. Okay, and now what's the formula we're going to use? Okay, so what's given, what we need, and what is the formula? Okay, so I boxed off this because that represents our A and H. So which formula has the A and H in it? What formula has the A and H?
Cos.
The cosine, good. So we're going to use our cosine formula. So it goes cos of the angle equals our adjacent side over our hypotenuse. So our cos of the angle equals the adjacent over the hypotenuse. Cos is A over H. And now we substitute into the equation. I should do a different color. So cos theta, so I should have put, theta equals our A over H. Okay, so cos of our angle, this is angle, so it's 18.6, equals our A, which we do not have, so you could call it A, or you could call it this C. Doesn't matter, I'm just going to leave it as our adjacent side. And our hypotenuse is 11.3. Okay, so now we solve for A. So we want to get A by itself. So what do we do to get A by itself?
Cos 18.6 times 11.3.
Good. So we're gonna, since we're dividing by 11.3 here, we're gonna multiply by 11.3 on the other side. So times 11.3, so times 11.3. So we get 11.3 cos 18.6. Okay, when you're multiplying this number, always goes in the front. Okay, so now this is where you guys have to be familiarized with your calculator. Some of your calculators go forward, some of your calculators go backwards. Okay? I think if you have a Casio or a Sharp, you go forward. If you have one of those blue calculators, you might have to go backwards. That blue one? You might have to go backwards. Okay, so for most calculators, first, make sure it's on degrees. Make sure your calculator is on degrees. You'll learn a different function next year, which is radians. Make sure it's on degrees. So you should have a little D there, or it might say DEG. Okay? So I want you guys to test out your calculator. You should be able to just punch this in as it is. Okay, so when I do it, I do 11.3 cos of 18.6, and I get the answer of 10.7. And our units is centimeters. Okay, so try your calculator now. If you didn't get that, Isabella, can you try yours? You got 10.7? Okay, then yours is fine. Anybody else not get it this way? Please try it out. Sometimes it's the smaller calculators. I thought that would be backwards. I'll try on a Casio. I have another Casio here. See if this one works. Yeah, this one works as well. Okay, so if you didn't get it as is, you have to punch it in backwards. Okay, so if, and this is for people at home as well, so 11.3 hosts 18.6, you should just be able to punch it in as is, get 10.7. If you didn't, type it in backwards. So go 18.6, press cos, and then multiply it by 11.3. Most calculators go forward, but there are a group of calculators that go backwards.
Yeah, mine is backwards.
Backwards, yeah, or yeah, you get the smaller ones.
Yeah.
What's yours? Forward? Yeah. Forward. So you really have to become familiarized with your calculator that you'll be using. If you borrow somebody else's. Deborah, okay, so first make sure it's in degrees, your calculator. Okay, so you should see a little D in the top here. I probably can't see it in the light, where it says degrees. Then did you try going forward, Deborah? So just type it in as it is. So 11.3 times cos of 18.6. It should only work one way. Anyone else have issues with the calculator? If you're on your phone and you have like an iPhone, I think you have to do it backwards as well. If you're using that just for now. Okay, so I'm just gonna substitute that one in. So now we have 10.7. Okay, so now we're going to find the last two things. So again, we need all three angles and all three sides. All three angles and all three sides, okay? So what's the easiest thing to find now? What's the next easiest thing we could find? What is the easiest thing to find now? Anyone at home? What's the easiest thing to find next?
Angle C.
Angle C, good. So angle C I'm gonna find, okay, and we just take it away from 180. So we just do 180. So we're gonna find this angle here. It's just 180, subtract the other two. The other two are 18.6 and 90. So it gives you 108.6. So that's 71.4. You just confirm that for me. Yeah, right? Okay, good. Okay, so 180 subtract 18.6 minus 90 is 71.4. Make sure you have your units. So in this case, degrees and centimeters, whether it's angle or side. Okay, and we're missing one last thing. We're missing one last thing. What's the last thing we need to find? Last thing, well, we need the adjacent side, sorry, the opposite side, or this is side A. Okay, so since we have, I'm going to do all the formulas, so since we have two sides and we need to find a third, we're just going to do Pythagorean theorem. Okay, so our hypotenuse, which is 11.3 squared, and A and B is the other two angles, or the other two sides, so it doesn't matter which one you do. So I'll just do 10.7 here, and then I'll do our last one, which we don't know. Okay, so I'm going to go a little bit fast on this one. So 11.3 squared is 127.69. $114.49. Okay, then we isolate for the last side. So we're going to subtract 114.49 on both sides. Get 13.2. Okay, there is one step that is often forgotten or a mistake with Pythagorean theorem. What am I forgetting?
Square root.
You have to square root the final answer, okay? So it's a very easy mistake that students make because they get a number 13. Oh, 13 kind of fits in here. But when you're looking at, well, we'll do this in a second. So we're going to square root 13.2. And we get 3.6. By the way, the question didn't specify where to round. So I just did one decimal place for all of them. Okay, when you get your answers, see if they make sense. See if they make sense. So say I forgot to square root this, and I put my side here as 13.2. How would I know that it's incorrect? How would I know it's incorrect?
Longer than hypotenuse?
Yeah, that would be longer than my hypotenuse. And that can't be because the hypotenuse is the longest side. Okay, so if I forgot and I put 13.2, then I look at my answer and said, well, how come this side is longer than hypotenuse? That means I did something incorrectly. Okay, so just check your answers after. So then you square root it and you realize, well, yeah, that's the smallest side. It makes sense.